Raider Nation, do it. If you want the Las Vegas Raiders to draft better this year, I need you to like the video right now. I know John Gruden can do it. I know Mike Mayock can do it. They had an unbelievable draft class in 2019. But this past year did not go so well. And I got my fingers crossed that it's going to be better this upcoming year. So if you want the Raiders to draft better, I need you to like this video. No matter the location, from OAKLA to LV, I'm a Raider. Raider Nation, what's going on? You are watching the Las Vegas Raiders Report. And on today's show, I'm going to be breaking down the 12 players every Raider fan needs to watch in tonight's national championship game between Ohio State and Alabama. I know that this is the Raiders Report. I normally talk about NFL players, but you know what? We've been getting a lot of people saying, Mitch, when are you going to do a mock draft? I'll get to one. Mitch, when are we going to look at more players for the draft? Well, guess what? That's what we're doing in today's show. So you got Ohio State, the 3 seed, going up against the Crimson Tide. The over-under in this one is 75 points. I'm so used to doing NFL stuff, I see 75 over-under. I'm like, what am I watching, the Steelers and Browns game? Bama, 9-point favorite. So what I want you guys to do here is let me know who you got. Are you going to go with the Buckeyes, or are you going to go with Alabama? Growing up, I was a Penn State fan. My family, they had season tickets, diehards. The issue is I don't really know if I want to root for Alabama because it's Alabama. So go down in the comments, let me know, OSU or Bama. I'll tell you one thing that I'm guaranteeing I'm going to do. I'm going to bet on this game. Give me the over and give me Ohio State to cover against Bama. And if you guys want to bet on this game and honestly any of the NFL playoff games, take advantage of the deal we got going on with BetUS. How do you get hooked up? You got to go to the link below, chatsports.com/Raiders. You got to use this promo code right here, Raiders125. It gets you 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? It means if you deposit $100, think about this, you get $125 for free to bet with. You want to be a big baller? You're going to be a part of that big baller brand? $200 down. You can get $250 for free. One more time, it's at chatsports.com/Raiders. Promo code Raiders125. Go bet on the Natty because I'm telling you what, I can't wait to watch this bad boy. And if you guys have any questions on how to get started with BetUS, or if you want to know maybe some other picks I got going on in the game or in the NFL playoffs, email me, Raiders@chatsports.com for the details. I would definitely appreciate that. So here, we're going to be breaking down the top 12 players, and the way that I wanted to do this is base it on Raiders draft needs, because obviously I'm sitting here saying I want defense, and some more defense. But before we get into those guys, these are going to be 5 players that, I'm sorry, they're not going to make my list just because it's not realistic, in my opinion, for the Raiders to draft them. Justin Fields, Mac Jones, 2 solid quarterbacks. I don't see them taking either of these guys. DeVonta Smith, Patrick Surtain, these guys are going to be gone before the Raiders pick at number 17. And then Najee Harris, I know the Raiders already drafted Josh Jacobs. I know I flirted with the idea in a recent video about potentially the Raiders taking another running back, depending on what happens with Josh Jacobs and his DUI situation. However, I'm not taking Najee Harris in the first or in the second round. The Raiders have other needs, and you can take running backs a little bit later on. So here are the Raiders' top draft needs: safety, edge rusher, defensive tackle. The reason it looks like this is because in terms of safety and edge rushers, there was no players that cracked my top 12, which is why now I get to the defensive tackle position, and I'm going to kick the show off here with a guy that I absolutely love, Christian Barmore. He could be a top 5 DT in this upcoming year draft, but one of the top interior dudes. Big guy from Alabama. The issue, limited reps, but there is some upside there, and I will say this, probably fits in a 3-4 scheme, so I don't know how high he will be on the Raiders draft board, but at the end of the day, this kid's going to be able to clog up a lot of holes. You know what I'm talking about. Let's go to Haskell Garrett here, defensive tackle, undersized for a usual DT. I know this is one of the players that has made waves around Raiders Twitter, if you will. He reminds me a lot of Mo Hurst, where Mo had a lot of heart and didn't have a lot of size and would make up for it. If you want a player who could be this Gruden grinder, if you will, Haskell Garrett is an interesting player at the defensive tackle, but he is definitely better against the run than the pass. This next guy coming up here from Alabama, LeBrian Ray, missed 5 games this season due to injury, and I had a little bit higher expectations for this guy. Natural power to shut down the run, no doubt about that. and he has the body and the traits to be, honestly, a true high upside pick. When I think about players like Jonathan Hankins, who's going to be a free agent, this could be an interesting player where if you decide to move on from Jonathan Hankins, you don't take a defensive tackle early on in the draft, you could look at a guy like a Brian Ray potentially on day 2, or even Fedarian Mathis. And if you guys like to go to Vegas, if you like to roll the dice, this is a guy who I think could be a sleeper, though if you go to Alabama, can you actually be a sleeper? I don't know. Tough player who carries his weight. And I mean, at defensive tackle, if you can find somebody that's 6'4", 300 pounds, and moves the way that this guy does, that's fun. But the thing that I know that Gruden and I know whoever going to be the new defensive coordinator is going to love about him, versatility. The Raiders like players so that you can move around. So you can move them around, and that could be a really interesting thing for this upcoming team. So let me know down in the comments, because I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. So for everyone that's watching this on YouTube, you're going to get hit with the YouTube ad break. While the ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and let me know what's the Raiders' biggest need. All right, the next need that we're going to get into here is cornerback. I like Trayvon Mullen to be that solid cornerback 1, even though he was a little up and down. Damon Arnett did not really work out whatsoever, and Nevin Lawson, he's a free agent, and I hope they don't end up bringing him back. The player that I am going to bring up, though, here is Shaun Wade. Shaun Wade in 2019, I was like, wow, this guy's one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the National Football League. But you can look pretty good when you got a guy like Damon Arnett, and then you got a guy like Jeffrey Okudah right next to you. This year, he has been a below-average outside cornerback, which is making NFL scouts go, well, who are we going to get? Are we going to get the 2019 Wade where he's great around other great players, or are we going to get the outside guy where, in my opinion, he is a below-average cornerback? Now, I know the Raiders like Ohio State corners. They did it with Garyon Conley. They drafted Damon Arnett. The issue with Wade, his footwork is really, really bad. I'm telling y'all right now, watch him, but I don't want this guy to be drafted for the Raiders. Next guy coming up here, defensive back for Alabama, Josh Jobe. Very well-built corner who looks the part. I've heard some people say it's Richard Sherman. It's only because he's like super strong, super lanky. I'm not going to go there. Honestly, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Jonathan Abram. Aggressive, wild, which burns him at times, but he can also lay out a dude, and you're like, wow, that was a lot of fun. What a big-time hit there by Josh. But he's also has a potential to get burned. And when you got a player that's in a national title game like the way Ohio State played against Clemson, don't be surprised if you see one once in a while, maybe like a Chris Olave, burning the DB like Josh. So if you guys want more Raiders draft videos, I want you to subscribe to the Raiders Report. I know it's the offseason, but we just crossed 71,000 subscribers. We are the #1 most watched Raiders channel on YouTube because we put out videos literally every single day. Also, I'll be live tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. But if you want more videos around Raiders draft targets, maybe some potential players that the Raiders could draft, that's what I want to do here. So hit the big red button that says subscribe, because we got to catch the Cowboys Report. They're like 14,000 subs ahead of me. The next position that we're going to talk about here is the offensive line. The reason why this one is intriguing to me is because the Raiders have a lot of tough decisions to make at the offensive line. Denzelle Good, free agent. Sam Young, free agent. I personally would make Denzelle Good the higher priority. But then you could also look at guys like Gabe Jackson. You could cut him, save $9.6 million. Trent Brown, cut him, save $14 million. Or Richie Incognito, you could end up cutting him and save $6.5 million. The issue with all those, when they're on the field, those players are good. When Trent Brown wants to play, he's a very good athlete. Richie Incognito is coming off an Achilles injury, and he's also 36, 37 years old. If the Raiders decide to move on from, let's say, 2 of those potential offensive linemen, you could be looking at some other linemen here in the draft. The first guy I want to bring up here is from Alabama, Alex Leatherwood. Played left tackle this year, but when I look at him, I do think that he's probably going to be more of a guard at the NFL level, but at the end of the day, versatility is never going to hurt a guy. Likely to be drafted on day 2. I have him as a round 2, round 3 pick. I don't know if he slides down to round 4, but Alex Leatherwood, I'm curious how he does against the Ohio State defensive line in this matchup. Wyatt Davis, great awareness, one of the smartest players on the field. Out of all the linemen that you're going to see here on screen, this is probably the guy that I like the most. Sure, he's at times struggled against edge rushers, but if you put him at offensive guard, he could be a real fun player to watch. I do see the Raiders sticking with a guy like John Simpson to play guard, but let's say they decide to move on from Gabe Jackson, or they decide to move on from Richie Incognito. Wyatt Davis is going to be a player that I would be at least intrigued in. Next guy coming in here is Trent Brown, big guy, who can literally move a lot of weight around. Powerful blocker with a Raider attitude. And when you guys watch him today, when he gets on the field and he starts pancaking people, you're going to be like, wow, this would be a fun guy to go out and get. But again, probably another guard. I know once in a while I've heard some scouts say that he could play right tackle. I don't necessarily see that. He is built more of like an interior offensive lineman to me. So I always tell y'all, hey, hit me up on IG, hit me up on Twitter, slide in my DMs, let's talk about the Raiders. I'm getting about, 50 to 100 people every single day that try to hit me up. I do answer every single one of those questions. It does take me a lot of time, and I will promise you, if you take time to watch my show and you take time to DM me, I will get back to you. Please be patient. Hit me up on IG, though, at Mitchell Renz 365. Let's go to the linebackers now. Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski, those are the top two guys. The names that I really want you to concentrate here, though, Raekwon McMillan, Kyle Wilber, Nicholas Morrow. Those three players are free agents. The top of the priority list should be Nicholas Morrow, who had, I actually think, a pretty solid year in coverage and really showed a lot of people wrong because since this guy was a UDFA, in 2017, he's continued to get better and better and better. And I don't really know if the Raiders look at the linebacker position in the draft, but let's say they do. Let's say they don't bring back those three guys. Here are the three linebackers that I'm watching in tonight's game. Dylan Moses missed 2019 due to an ACL injury, and it kind of breaks my heart because Moses was a player that I liked a lot last year. I thought he was going to come out, and then the ACL injury, it slowed him down. He's always been a player that's been able to take advantage of the college football level because of his natural traits and his natural athletic ability. However, I do fear when he comes to the National Football League, he's going to struggle in coverage because he looks lost just way too often, and you can't rely on just athletic ability at the next level. The next guy that I want to talk about is Baron Browning. He has always had the physical traits, no doubt about it, but still needs to learn the position. And one of the reasons why this is an intriguing prospect, if the Raiders want to honestly go out and draft a linebacker, and maybe it is Browning, you could put him with a guy like Nick Kwiatkowski, who Kwiatkowski didn't really play linebacker all that much last year for the Bears. They took a bit of a flyer on him, naturally athletic guy who can play a lot of different positions. But for Browning, I don't know if he'll be on the board for when the Raiders draft because especially if I'm Vegas, I'm not taking a linebacker with my first 4 picks. So Browning, still a guy to watch. The next guy I want to bring up, and the last guy on my list here, it's Pete Werner. Versatility is attractive to coaches, and when you watch the Ohio State defense, he is going to be the quarterback on this D. His motor never shuts off. I know how much y'all love Max Crosby for his ability to run all over the football field and never give up. That's what you're going to get out of a guy like Pete. I know earlier in the show I said Haskell was a Gruden grinder. This guy's also a Gruden grinder. You're going to be able to find some players like this. So hopefully everyone had a good time watching the show. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Take advantage of the National Championship game because you know what, man? I am super excited to watch this one. And yes, these are the games that y'all need to see because the Raiders, they need some winners on this squad. And I want some players that are ready to play in these big-time games. So if you made it this far in the video, go down in the comments section because I'm going to be looking which players are you watching tonight. And if you haven't picked the winner yet, make sure you pick one, Ohio State or Alabama.